What's going on, buds? This week we're coming at you with a highly requested video on how to make your GoPro footage look fast. Blake, tell them about it.
So you've all been there. You're ripping down the trail, you know you're about to get that calm. You want to post a cool video on Instagram, but you watch it and your GoPro just makes you look like a straight up duster, and there's no way you can be showing people that you're going that slow. So in this video, we're going to show you how we make our videos look fast and realistic to how they actually ride in person. So your GoPro settings might seem like a bit of a foreign language to you. And that's okay. You're not a photographer or a videographer, so there's no need for you to have to learn everything about the camera. That's why I'm here. I'm going to show you a really simple way, without complicating it too much, of the settings that we use and the products we use to make our videos go from looking slow like this to looking fast like this. And we're also going to show you what we used to get that nice audio, even in high-speed situations. So now I'm going to take you on my phone inside the GoPro app and show you how we have our GoPro set up. So now that I have the GoPro app open, I'm going to run through my settings really quick. I'm going to leave the explanations for afterwards. I really just want to get through these settings and then explain the important parts afterwards. So I have this open on my phone right now. You can go ahead and follow along on your phone as well, or on your GoPro itself. So right away we dive into resolution. We always use 2.7K. It gives us a little bit of a bump over 1080, but without the really large file sizes of 4K. If you can handle those large file sizes, go ahead and use 4K. Next, we have frames per second. We always leave it in 24. Most of you probably use 60 or 30, but I'm going to explain that later. We also have lens. We use it in super view all the time. We're doing POV videos in the woods, so super view gives us the most field of view. Hyper smooth is always on. You gotta have that stable footage. Short clip length is off. Bitrate, if you have a GoPro Hero 8 or newer, you're gonna want that high. Shutter, we always leave shutter in auto. More on that later. EV comp is 0. There's no need to really mess with that unless the highlights are super bad and you want to knock that down to -1. ISO min is always in 100. ISO max is usually in 400 or 800. If you're riding in the evening and the sun might be going down during the ride, you might bump that up to 800, but most of the time 400 is going to be good enough. White balance, we typically leave white balance in auto. We've found that the GoPro usually does a pretty good job at nailing the white balance, and if it doesn't, it's a pretty easy fix to do in post. That brings us to sharpness. I usually just leave mine in medium. I find that high makes it a little bit too pixelated, I guess, or over sharpened. And now we have color. Again, we always let GoPro just do this. We found that they pretty much nail the colors pretty well most of the time. And once again, if they don't, it's not that hard to fix in post as well. If you want more leeway with that, you can go ahead and do flat, but that's just gonna take up more time of your editing afterwards. Raw audio, we just leave off. And then that brings us to our last thing, which is wind. We leave this to auto, because if you have it off and you get really windy footage, nobody likes windy footage. So we leave it in auto. And we also have some tips later on what we use to get really good audio on our GoPros. So that was me just running through the settings really quick to show you what they are. So hopefully you have your GoPro set to all those settings now. And now I'm going to explain why we use those settings. So you guys are probably wondering, how does that make my footage look that much faster? And those settings will help, but here's the real secret. You may have seen it at the beginning of the video and wondered what exactly that was on my GoPro. And it's these ND filters right here. ND filters, in the simplest terms, are like sunglasses for your lens or sunglasses for your camera. And what that does is it allows you to use a slower shutter speed. Shutter speed is how fast each frame is taken during a video or an image. An easy way to explain it is if a car was driving by and you wanted to freeze that car in time, you're going to have to use a really, really fast shutter speed. And the reason you don't want fast shutter speeds for action sports is that it makes everything look slow. In order to get that realistic look, you need a way to drop the shutter speed, and on a GoPro, an ND filter is the only way to do that. ND filters are a pretty cheap addition to your GoPro, and they really do help a lot. They make that video look way more realistic than what it actually is. So now I'm going to show you some examples to prove that. So this first video I'm showing you is Chase running his GoPro at 60 frames per second instead of 24 with no ND filters. Take a look at how clear everything is in this and how sharp everything is. But you notice that it's making the trail look super slow. You know, riding trails, they look way faster than this. And this is because the shutter speed is so high because he's shooting at 60 frames per second with no ND filters. Now in this video right off the bat, you can tell that it looks much faster and much more realistic. Looking down at the bottom of the screen at the trail, you get all that nice motion blur that you typically see while you're actually riding it as well. It makes the trail look way more realistic and all around just gives it a better feel. Now, here's those two videos side by side so you can get a super clear comparison in real time on the same exact trail on the difference between 60 frames with no ND filter and 24 frames with an ND filter. Now I'm sure you guys are wondering, what about the same frame rate just with and without an ND filter? So we got that for you as well. Here is the video of Chase running his GoPro at 24 frames per second, all of the settings I just showed you without an ND filter. And then here is me running the same settings with the ND filter. So here's the difference. Now you guys should be able to see the difference in that, but if not, I'm going to show you side by side again with a screenshot. So here is a frozen frame from each of the videos. In Chase's frame, you can clearly see that all of the ground is still in focus. And here's the frame from the exact same position on the same trail, except I'm using the correct ND filter. Now you can notice all of the motion blur going on the ground, and that's going to help make the trail once again just look that much faster and more realistic. So this clearly shows the effects that ND filters and the correct settings have on your footage. Now this pack of NDs comes with a few different levels of ND. I typically always stick with the ND32. That's going to give you enough ND to get that shutter speed down to where around it needs to be. So if you're wondering that, that's the one that I typically use all the time unless I'm riding in the evening when the sun might be going down. Then I might bump down to the next level. Now that brings us to audio. Everyone likes to be able to hear what's going on in the video. GoPros don't typically do a very good job of handling a high-speed wind noise. That's why we picked up these sticky mic covers to put over all of our mics on our GoPro so that we can get our GoPros sounding nice and crisp. They're pretty cheap and come in large packs, so it's an easy upgrade that you can do to your GoPro to get that much better quality out of your footage. All of the products that we use on our GoPros will be linked in the description below, so if you're interested in wanting to step up your game and make your footage and audio look and sound as good as ours, check out the description for the links that we have down there so you can get some for yourself. We put a lot of effort into this video for you guys, getting some different footage with different settings so that we can show you the effects that settings have on your footage. So if you learned something from it, please consider dropping a like on the video, subscribing if you haven't, and sharing it with a friend that doesn't already know about us or that would find this video helpful. So with that being said, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.